Toby settled into his usual spot in the mailroom, head bowed as he tucked envelopes into their respective slots. The soft hum of fluorescent lights and the distant clatter of keyboards lulled the building into a drab monotony. Day after day, he would arrive before most of the staff and sort letters, packages, and internal memos so everything was ready by the time the first wave of employees streamed into the office. He was used to working quietly behind the scenes, yet his mind was filled with lively tunes that no one else ever heard. Whenever he felt a pinch of uncertainty or a wave of anxiety, he conjured up small melodies in his head, jingles punctuated by bright chord progressions. They comforted him. He never considered sharing these private bits of sunshine with anyone else. On one particular Tuesday afternoon, Toby watched from behind shelves of mail bins as employees shuffled through the corridor. Their expressions ranged from stressed to exhausted. Some slouched, arms laden with thick binders or cups of tepid coffee, while others walked briskly in hopes the day would end sooner. Nearly everyone seemed locked in a muted tension. The entire company was abuzz with rumored layoffs and an upcoming review from the head office. Toby absorbed each anxious face and began to hum a cheerful melody under his breath, imagining what kind of jingle he could compose to lighten the atmosphere, if only for a few seconds. He might have stayed in the background forever, letting his tunes remain private had it not been for an impulsive act of kindness that changed everything. A project manager named Elise had passed by Toby's desk, looking especially burdened. Elise was typically upbeat, known for offering small talk in the break room and checking in on team members. Lately, she had become subdued. Toby overheard her mention to someone else that she was concerned about her job security and the future of her department. Suddenly compelled to help in whatever way he could, Toby scribbled a short rhyme on a sticky note, something silly and bright. Elise, you're a star, shining near and far. Your hard work every day paves the office way. Then he added a little musical notation, as if summoning a gentle tune. He placed the note on her desk while she was away and scurried back to the mailroom. Heart pounding, he hoped she'd like it, though he half expected she might find it strange. Late that day, Elise stopped by the mailroom with a beaming smile. "That was sweet, thank you," she said softly. "I found your note. It actually made me feel heard." The tension lines in her face had softened. Toby felt his cheeks flush, not used to direct praise. He mumbled something about wanting to help and quickly busied himself with the afternoon mail deliveries. But something sparkly and warm flickered inside him. Encouraged by Elise's reaction, Toby wondered if other coworkers could use a quick pick-me-up. He supposed that if his silly jingles proved distracting or annoying, it might cause problems, but if they helped even in the smallest way, wasn't it worth trying? The following week, Toby gathered enough courage to compose a handful of short musical messages for a few key colleagues. He penned a rhythmic pep talk for a beleaguered accountant named Vernon that read, "Numbers weigh heavy, but you keep them afloat. Vernon's calm spirit guides each financial boat." He floated these lines onto Vernon's desk after hours. He also jotted down a tiny jingle for Marcia, who worked in customer support and seemed perpetually on the verge of burnout. Marcia's patience is a golden thread, weaving solutions before problems spread. He added a few elongated musical notes along the margin, imagining them as gentle chords that might settle her frazzled mind. Each time he delivered a new jingle, he slipped it onto the recipient's desk when no one was watching. Reactions began to swirl around the office. People found random anonymous sticky notes with cheerful messages accompanied by doodles of musical bars. Some posted them on their cubicle walls or pinned them to corkboards. Others quietly tucked them in their planners for motivation. Toby found that more coworkers began smiling at him in the hallway, though they still didn't know he was the source of the messages. He would smile back, oddly energized by the sense that he had shared a piece of his inner melodic world. He soon discovered, however, that his secret was less well-guarded than he'd imagined. One afternoon, Toby was so lost in thought that he forgot to close the mailroom door as he hummed a newly composed tune. The sweet, lilting notes seeped out into the corridor. Noah from the tech department, who was headed down to pick up a package, paused outside the open door. He stood there, listening to Toby refine a lyric under his breath. Toby's eyes flew open wide when he noticed Noah leaning on the doorway with a grin. "Was that you all this time?" Noah asked, eyebrows arched. Toby felt frozen. I, maybe," he managed to stammer. Noah walked in with a disarming, friendly smile. "Listen, man, I think you just solved a big mystery upstairs. Everyone's been wondering who's been leaving those motivational jingles on their desks. People are talking, and it's really lifting spirits, especially now when morale has been so low." Toby tried to form a proper reply but found himself stuttering. Finally, he admitted he'd been writing those notes. "I'm sorry if it's weird," Toby murmured. "I just like music and I hate seeing everyone so down." "Weird?" Noah laughed kindly. "Dude, it's awesome. You have no idea how much it's helped us. Even Lucas in marketing has pinned his rhyme on his cubicle, and that guy normally hates everything." Noah let out a small chuckle, and Toby couldn't help but smile in return. Word spread quickly through the office that Toby from the mailroom was the lyricist behind the uplifting notes. Suddenly, acquaintances Toby had never spoken with outside of official mailroom business greeted him by name in the cafeteria and in the hallways. Some asked him about where he got the idea for their particular jingle, and others teased him for being shy. Toby, still timid, found the attention overwhelming, though he couldn't deny enjoying the warmth emanating from his colleagues. This transformation in the workplace was noticeable, even to the executive team, who knew something unusual was going on. One day, HR manager Priya approached Toby with a curious glint in her eye. "I've received some interesting feedback about you," she began. Toby was terrified. Had he crossed some line by writing personal messages on company property? He opened his mouth to apologize, but Priya held up a hand to stop him. "Don't worry," she laughed. "I'm not here to scold you. Quite the opposite. People love your messages. In fact, we were hoping you might do something more officially recognized by the company. Maybe lead a short motivational session at the next staff meeting, or even compose an official anthem for our corporate culture campaign." Toby's face flushed with both excitement and nerves. To stand before everyone and actually sing or present a jingle live felt daunting. Well, I'm not sure if I can stand up in front of a crowd," he confessed. "I've never really performed for anyone besides my cat." Priya gave him a compassionate smile. "Take some time to think about it," she said. "We just wanted you to know that your work hasn't gone unnoticed." As she strolled away, Toby slumped in his chair, adrenaline coursing through him. The thought of performing in front of the entire company both thrilled and terrified him. Over the next few days, Toby vacillated between burying himself in mailroom tasks and scribbling potential lines for an official anthem. He convinced himself that maybe it was better to remain in the background, but whenever he saw how much the office vibe had improved, he contemplated what more widespread positivity might feel like. He'd overheard stories of managers referencing his jingles in team meetings to encourage staff, or a typically grouchy coworker cracking a rare smile in reaction to a new note discovered in the break room. He reminded himself that an expanded role in delivering hope could bring about even better outcomes. So he steeled his resolve. Perhaps his music was no longer just for him. The next staff meeting arrived more quickly than Toby would have liked. Priya had arranged time at the end of the agenda for a special presentation. Loose-lipped coworkers had already dropped plenty of hints that Toby was the special item. The surprise factor was gone, but the anticipation heightened. Toby spent the prior evening pacing his tiny apartment, trying to lock down a short, catchy tune everyone might sing or hum along to. When his cat, Pepper, meowed at him, Toby tried out the jingle. Pepper blinked as if in approval, though Toby supposed cats rarely disapproved of easygoing melodies. When Toby's turn came, he walked to the front of the large conference room, steps trembling. He saw so many faces, some friendly, some he barely recognized. Elise offered him a reassuring thumbs up. Vernon and Marcia were smiling broadly. Noah gave him an enthusiastic nod. Toby cleared his throat, heart thudding in his ears. Hi everyone, he started, voice shaky. I'm Toby from the mailroom, although I guess most of you know me now. That prompted a few chuckles. I never thought my silly little notes would get this sort of attention. Thank you for being so supportive. He exhaled and carefully set 5 laminated index cards on a tabletop so he could read from them if his mind went blank. I wrote a short tune, he continued. It's nothing fancy, but I hoped it might reflect the spirit I see in all of you every day. Toby started snapping his fingers to keep time. Then, in a gentle but clear voice, he sang, every morning we rise to greet a brand new day. Working together, we find a brighter way. With hearts so open wide, we share this space with pride. Our melodies combine in harmony. We shine. After the first few lines, Toby paused, as if inviting others to join. They obliged, timidly at first, but with each repeat the staff's voices grew stronger, more unified. Toby beamed as he watched his coworkers smile and sway. Albeit slightly out of sync, the short chant was catchy, he'd made sure of that. Within moments, some employees tapped rhythms on the conference table, others hummed in harmony. Even the stern CFO tapped his foot in subdued approval. When Toby finished, the room erupted in genuine applause. He felt a surge of relief and satisfaction well up in his chest. He'd never shown his music to more than a few people at a time, and now an entire roomful of colleagues had shared in his melody. That single moment felt like a validation that extended beyond the corporate walls. It affirmed that his gift was worth revealing. A wave of positivity swept through the office in the ensuing weeks. Teams that seldom collaborated began engaging in cross-department brainstorming sessions. Lunchroom chatter echoed with spontaneous humming of Toby's jingle. Elise offered to buy Toby an official spiral-bound notebook, joking that the office might soon need a tune library of uplifting jingles. Toby blushed at the suggestion, but found it endearing. Even those who were more skeptical about the power of music noticed a subtle change in the work environment. Fewer tense confrontations, a bit more care when people asked, "How are you?" Toby realized with a certain wonder that while some might view his jingles as a cute gimmick, for others it provided that extra drop of hope or comfort. Amid this newfound sense of optimism, Toby detected that the executive leadership team was paying closer attention to employee morale. The rumored layoffs hadn't become reality. Instead, corporate had decided to restructure certain roles in a way that allowed people to retain their jobs. Priya stopped by one afternoon with more good news. The CEO, Mr. Coleman, had heard about Toby's success and was curious to see if any part of the Jingles initiative might be integrated into a broader company culture campaign. Toby felt both excited and intimidated by the idea of an official corporate project. He certainly wanted to continue contributing, but the notion of being given a formal role as corporate morale musician felt surreal. Despite growing recognition, Toby stayed grounded. He continued his routine in the mailroom, sorting interoffice memos and handling incoming deliveries. In the quiet sanctuary of the mailroom, he still composed small personal tunes for individual colleagues, believing that the intimate, direct notes were just as important as any grand performance. He wrote about the way Sarah from HR always kept an extra pair of shoes under her desk in case colleagues needed them, or how Grant in IT was known for quietly updating old software so that others never missed a beat. These gestures, Toby realized, formed the backbone of a workplace that genuinely cared. One late afternoon, Toby found Mr. Coleman standing at the mailroom entrance. Tall and charismatic, the CEO shook Toby's hand warmly. "I apologize for dropping by unannounced," he said in a friendly tone. "I just wanted to meet the man behind all the positivity. You've made quite an impact, Toby. The staff are happier, performance is up, and the entire atmosphere feels changed. It's remarkable." Toby smiled, still processing that the company's top executive was speaking to him like an equal. "Thank you, sir. I never thought—" I just wrote some silly tunes," Toby replied. "Silly or not, they've worked," the CEO said. "I'm considering including morale-boosting initiatives in our official mission statement and training programs. You've proven how simple gestures of kindness can create ripple effects in a workplace. I know you prefer to fly under the radar, but we'd love for you to collaborate on a short training segment we can roll out in other departments, even other branches. Think about it. Mr. Coleman patted Toby's shoulder, then left as quickly as he arrived. Toby remained by the desk, mind thrumming with possibilities. Ripple effects, he echoed to himself. That was exactly it. A small drop could create a circle of waves, each bigger than the last. Having more time to reflect, Toby recognized that music had always been his way of expressing gratitude and empathy. Now it might become something official, even part of corporate strategy. While the notion was daunting, he found that his timid self wasn't as fearful as before. Maybe this was his calling. Instead of shelving his gift in the shadows, he could let it bloom in the sunlight of everyday interactions. Meanwhile, the positive vibes kept blossoming. Teams started planning small music breaks during the workday, a 3-minute interval where Toby or a volunteer from any department would lead the group in a short chant or sometimes just a gentle humming session to refocus minds. Toby saw that people who rarely sang outside of a shower or car ride joined in, letting themselves relax. It didn't magically solve every problem, but it introduced a measure of warmth and camaraderie that was undeniably uplifting. Not every reaction was positive, of course. A few employees rolled their eyes or muttered that the jingles were corny or a waste of time. Toby, initially sensitive to disapproval, worked hard to accept that not everyone would embrace his songs. Over time, even some of the skeptics softened, especially when they saw junior interns or overworked colleagues break into small smiles. One particularly jaded middle manager told Toby, "I still don't sing, but I get it now. Those notes you wrote for me, they help me see that maybe I'm not alone when deadlines crush me." Toby took that as a massive win, even if the manager didn't burst into song. As the end of the quarter approached, Toby found a personal note in his own mailbox, penned in neat cursive. "Toby, your jingle saved me from burning out. Thank you. Keep shining." No name signed at the bottom. He stared at the words for a while, realizing that the busy, bustling office housed countless silent stories. Something as simple as a caring jingle could serve as a small but meaningful reminder that every person is seen and valued. Toby felt his chest tighten with emotion, a mixture of gratitude and a sense of responsibility. At last, the day came when Toby would present his Jingles initiative to a small group of regional managers visiting the headquarters. Priya and Mr. Coleman wanted to see if the concept could be replicated in other branches. Toby set up a modest presentation in a secondary conference room, just a laptop, a speaker, and a projection screen for the lyrics. He waited, fiddling with the volume setting as 6 managers walked in with polite expressions. They took their seats, some flipping open notebooks, others checking their phones. Toby cleared his throat. This time, he felt more prepared. After all, he'd already performed in front of the entire staff once. He began much as he had in the staff meeting, explaining how he noticed anxiety and tension in the office, and how his private jingles transformed his own feelings of nervousness into something beneficial for others. Then he demonstrated a couple of short tunes he'd composed for specific coworkers. The manager surprised him by listening intently and even singing along. When it was done, a handful of them expressed genuine interest. "We never considered something like this," one manager said. "Maybe positivity can be more than posters on the wall. Maybe it can feel personal." Toby nodded, relieved that they got the essence. Toward the end of the session, Toby asked for volunteers to create quick jingles for their own teams, explaining that what had made his notes powerful was their personal touch. Even if it was just a sentence or two, it needed sincerity. With a bit of coaxing, the managers tried their hand at drafting a rhyme or a line about a specific team member. Laughter spread as some stumbled over corny rhymes or off-key hums, but the atmosphere was undeniably joyful. When the managers wrapped up the session, they left with Toby's official blessing to experiment. Toby didn't know if all of them would implement the idea, but seeing their enthusiasm felt like a major victory. Walking back to his desk afterward, Toby felt a lightness in each step. He reflected back to the time he spent fully in the shadows, quietly humming to soothe his own insecurities. He wondered if he would ever have guessed that one day his melodies would spread beyond the headquarters or even beyond the city. Though Toby wasn't one for lofty predictions, he sensed that more people might discover how small acts of kindness could spark transformations. By the end of that year, the company recognized Toby in a small internal ceremony. Mr. Coleman handed him an award for outstanding contribution to workplace culture. Photos of Toby stood next to slides describing the jingle phenomenon. Elise, Vernon, Marcia, and countless others applauded, some even cheering. Toby clutched the award plaque, feeling his insides swirl with a mix of pride and humility. Soft tears pricked his eyes. He'd never sought attention. He'd only wanted to brighten a dim work environment. In that moment, Toby realized another deep truth. Encouraging others also feeds our own courage. After the applause died down, Toby took a moment to speak from his heart. He recalled how, at first, he was scared his notes would be rejected or deemed unprofessional, but the willingness of each colleague to embrace a little silliness had generated an authentic shift across the company. He acknowledged that while he might have provided the spark, everyone else's positive response turned it into a flame, and with that flame came warmth, comfort, and a renewed sense of unity. Following the ceremony, Toby returned to his routine, sorting mail with a satisfied grin. His jingle writing never ceased. He custom-tailored messages for newcomers to welcome them on their first day. He composed tunes for birthdays and work anniversaries. He kept a small stack of musical sticky notes in his drawer for those impromptu moments when a coworker looked particularly stressed. As word of mouth spread, Toby began to imagine employees singing short melodies in branches far away, all linked by this accidental tradition of bright, supportive tunes. Not long after, Toby grinned at the sight of multiple employees happily exchanging handmade jingles with each other. He realized that his small acts of kindness had become a collective tradition, not solely dependent on him. It was a cultural shift that transcended department lines and job titles. It even helped Toby shed much of his own shyness, allowing him to see that sharing a bit of optimism could be just as cathartic for the giver as for the recipient. Now and then, Toby still found solace in the quiet corners of the office, letting new melodies filter into his mind. But he no longer felt the need to hide them. He could walk through the halls humming with ease, greeting coworkers who approached him with bright eyes and wide smiles, eager to share how the latest tune helped them face a tough deadline or an anxious morning. Toby felt more connected, more alive, and more himself than he ever thought possible within the confines of an ordinary mailroom clerk's job. And so each day continued in its familiar rhythms. Emails still poured in, projects still demanded attention, and stressors inevitably arose. So Toby's jingles, humble as they were, offered a small but lasting reminder that sometimes the simplest gestures can hold the most profound power. All it took was one timid clerk who dared to share his tunes, weaving pockets of light into the everyday tapestry of an entire workplace. And in those bright pockets of music and compassion, everyone found reason to smile, to keep going, and to look forward to tomorrow with renewed hope.